One of the important factors to think about when talking about campus climate for LGBT people is thinking about the campus as this one kind of system that's created up of all these microsystems that students have different experiences in. So some experiences are impacted by institutional issues such as policies, procedures, non-discrimination, and the different departments and resources that might be available. So I think at that level, we do pretty well. So UNF has a non-discrimination policy that includes LGBT people. I'm really lucky to get to direct an LGBT resource center whose prime focus is just supporting students who are LGBT or questioning, supporting students who has family members who are LGBT, and then also helping to advocate for students and connect them to resources. So I think we do really good in that area. Policy-wise, we're doing pretty well. We have certain challenges such as the preferred name policy. So that's a policy that allows students and faculty and staff to go by a name other than their legal name, and it's particularly important for folks who are transgender or gender nonconforming who haven't had a legal name change. And that policy also includes pronoun use and using the correct pronouns for people. However, implementing policy is a whole nother can of worms in terms of making sure that people on campus know that the policy exists, and then also challenges within different kinds of like IT databases who may not have information around preferred name. But institutionally, I think we're doing pretty well. And then one of the other microsystems that really impacts students is their faculty members. So what are their experiences in the classroom? And that can vary depending on the department. So some departments are very interested in supporting LGBT students, and they've had me or another staff member come in and educate the faculty within those departments. And so those areas where faculty are given those resources and encouraged to seek resources tend to be more inclusive. So one example is the Department of Sociology, Anthropology, and Social Work. I recently did trainings for all their faculty, and so we see more engagement when faculty are aware that they have us as a resource. And then there's the interpersonal level of how students are treated in their residence halls, the ways that that LGBT inclusion is or isn't supported in those areas, whether that's visibility and visible support, whether it's programming, whether it's response to when an issue might come up. And so I think it's hard to say if the climate is like great or if it's bad. I think that perspective is always important and context. So if we look at the region of Jacksonville, we live in a very conservative area. In 2017, our city council passed a non-discrimination ordinance that does include LGBT people, which was amazing, but that was like a 10-year plus effort. And there was a lot of vitriol and a lot of hate going around. And it really can vary depending on the neighborhood you're in. So that climate, that conservative political and social climate impacts our ability to do work on campus. And luckily, we have a history of having a president who's very supportive of LGBT inclusion and higher level administration who are as well. So leadership can be really important in standing up to some of the local folks or leaders who may be kind of resistant. And that's an area of climate that I think folks aren't always as aware of, because there is this like outside structure that we exist in as well. Yeah, it can be really simple. So I think sometimes when we talk about climate, we get really hung up on like all these big things that we want to change. But simply a faculty member mentioning the non-discrimination policy and LGBT resources in their syllabus can be a really good start, because it gives them the opportunity to draw attention to LGBT people and inclusion in the class. So even if it's a math class, some folks who teach classes unrelated to like human services or education have a struggle trying to figure out how to include LGBT topics. And just by having an introductory component at the beginning of the semester that just says, hey, these are some resources you have. I'm a supporter the LGBT community as well as other diverse communities who might experience marginalization or discrimination on campus, that's a really good way to start. Another way, I had mentioned preferred name and the preferred name policy. Unfortunately, the preferred name information doesn't feed through to the class rosters that faculty get. So for them, something that's really important is to not immediately call people by their first name. In class, like when they're going through the roster, they can either do a survey in advance where students can give a preferred name, or they can actually, they can even just go by last name until a student says what their first name is. So that can be really important. And I think not making assumptions about the students that they meet. And that could be as far as not assuming their gender, not assuming what their identity might be. So even if they think that there might not be any LGBT people in their classroom, they're probably wrong. Statistics say that around 20% of those populations are openly identifying as LGBTQ, and so that's a really high number. And then finally, they can also attend trainings. We do a training called Safe Space. You may have seen the rainbow stickers around campus. And so that is between a 2 to 3 hour training where faculty and staff are able to learn about basic terminology, learn about some of the challenges that LGBT students might be facing, and then come up with different strategies that they can implement within their department and in their classroom. I think that one of the biggest ways straight and cisgender students can be an ally is by learning more about the LGBT community, whether that's coming to events that our resource center does or going to Pride Club and building relationships with LGBT people and finding out how they can support their friends. That's really important. Speaking up in class, either when other individuals are saying things negative about the LGBT community, using their kind of positionality and power as a straight or cisgender person to say, hey, actually no, this is what I know about the community, or setting people straight. Stepping in when people are using the wrong name or pronouns for an individual is also really important. Being aware of local policies and political issues that are going on, whether that's issues within our community around harassment and discrimination, whether that's going out and voting and being aware of where their representatives stand on the issues and becoming more informed. They could also, if they really want to get involved, volunteer with local LGBT organizations.